This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
This is the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss all the great news in the world of sports. My name is Ben.
Hey, and I'm Anthony.
Alex is not in the studio today, so it'll just be Anthony and I like we usually are on Fridays. Going to be talking about some football, a little bit of basketball, as well as some baseball to end the show. We'll start off with the football, of course. So last night, the Oakland Raiders actually have something to look forward to in regards to trying to stay in Oakland. So they've pushed for a relocation to Vegas for pretty much all summer long, going into the fall now. But last night, the City Council of Alameda County voted 3-1 in favor of the Raiders' stadium proposal bill. So they're going to try and start negotiating with a group of investors. It's headed by Ronnie Lott for a possible $1.3 billion stadium. That's according to the Associated Press. So the plan is to at least try to keep the Raiders in Northern California. I mean, don't get me wrong, Las Vegas is definitely very tempting. There's a lot of opportunities there. It's a growing city. They just got the Golden Knights, the hockey team, so there's a lot of chances. The NFL is the most popular sport. You put it in Vegas, I think that'd be really good. But obviously you want to try and keep your team where you already are. You already saw what happened with the St. Louis Rams going to L.A. now, so I guess it's a really good thing.
Yeah, and, they started the whole thing. They're trying to figure out all the financials with it because it says the deal calls to have a city and county go $350 million towards it, $150 in land at the Coliseum site, $200 million to develop infrastructure for building processes, or for purposes. So, they're trying to do everything they can to keep it in Oakland because you have the pressure of, I guess LA is still out there, even though that may go with the Chargers. You got the thing with Vegas, like you said. And we kind of saw that same thing here in Sacramento, right, with the Kings, because there was something forever where it was like, oh, they might go to Seattle, they might go to Vegas, they might go to Anaheim. All these things were kind of thrown out. And then at the end, when it was basically kind of a thing, because you can brag about, oh, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. But then it comes time, basically, is what it is now with the Raiders, basically, where they had to figure out, okay, if we're going to do something, what's the best process? And now they're going about that, seeing what to do. And, now they've actually agreed to at least a step forward to see if they can keep the team in Oakland. They've agreed to this. That doesn't mean they're staying, but it at least means that they have somewhat of a plan right now to at least hold off the whole, moving to Las Vegas thing, which might lead to them basically just signing another 1-year lease at the Coliseum and then trying to figure it out from there.
Nothing's, like you said, nothing's definitely guaranteed yet. It is
right.
A step in the right direction. But also when it comes to Vegas, nothing's really guaranteed there either. It's not like they have a stadium
Sure.
ready and obviously building like they already did in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, according to like deals when it goes to Vegas, they're still trying and having some difficult time striking a deal to get a stadium built there. However, a lot of people still believe the deal will be struck. It's not a guaranteed thing yet, so it's not like they have it right there written in stone like with L.A. they already do, and they can go there right away if they wanted to.
Yep.
That's not necessarily the case with Vegas. So I guess it's kind of a good thing. I do want the Raiders to stay, being a Northern California guy myself.
Right.
You have another team there, another chance to go there. I've gone to Raider games before at the Coliseum. So it's definitely something I don't want to see them leave. But, I mean, it's only a matter of time in my eyes before we see a team in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll have a team in Vegas, especially NFL. And I always thought the funniest thing was, like, if you were going to legitimately move a team to Vegas, NFL-wise, like, the Raiders are perfect. Like, the only way it would have been more perfect is if they'd done this, like, a decade ago when Al Davis was still alive. Because he would have been at this point, if Al Davis was still alive, he would have, moved the team to Las Vegas already just to spite whoever the commissioner was. Like, he would have done that just to be like, yeah, I'm doing this. I don't care. You can guys, get as mad as you want to, but I'm going to leave and I'm going to do this, because he did that with the L.A. Raiders. Is basically him just moving there to, like, thumb his nose at the commissioner, Roselle, I think it was at the time, just because he liked doing stuff like that. But right now, I've been, like, along with you, like, I've been to the Coliseum and seen the games. Now, to be fair, the Coliseum is also really not the best place in the world, like, as far as modern amenities and just the fact that, at an Oakland A's game, there was sewage backup at one time. So, as far as how the actual place is, it's not the best, but I do like seeing the Raiders in Northern California, and I would like to see that stay. But they still have to do a lot of stuff in order for that to still be a possibility, because I think I'm with you that up until last night, the prevailing thought was that they are going to move to Vegas. So this is at least something that at least pumps the brakes on that for a little bit.
The Oakland Coliseum is literally the perfect name, because I think that might be as old as the Roman Coliseum, because that stadium, I've been going there for 10, 15 years now.
Right.
And that stadium is just so old, like no technology at all.
Right.
Like you mentioned the sewer. I don't really know exactly about that, but that can only spell disasters. And it's also the only stadium left that shares a football team with a baseball team. Mm-hmm. So they need to do something, and they're definitely moving in the right direction. And like I said, I'm happy to see it. And I think it's only a matter of time before you see a team in Vegas. It's a growing economy, and it would just work out. You have 8 home games a year. You're a Dolphins fan.
Right.
I'm a Packers fan. Let's just say, I'm just using us as examples. Like, Green Bay's going to Vegas to play the Raiders, or I don't know, just throwing out whatever team,
right, and
an expansion team. It's like, oh wow, let's plan a weekend trip. Let's cap it off with the game on Sunday. Come home Sunday night, Monday morning, like a little boys trip,
Right. Because there's hypothetically 2 reasons why this would be bad, or at least that you could say there'd be bad things. One of which is, okay, it's Vegas, and you're going to have the whole stigma of like, okay, we're actually going to put a team in the middle of basically gambling heaven, right? But to be fair, whether it's Bovada or whatever else, you can gamble on anything if you really want to. That's not necessarily hard to do. Yeah, it might be different if you're actually putting them dead center where you actually can bet all the time, but I don't think you would be able to bet on Raiders games in Las Vegas. I'm assuming they probably would just take them off the board just to try and alleviate something like that. And also the second part is, you wouldn't have as many, like, people may feel that you won't have as much of diehard fan base because, like you just said, oh yeah, we're close enough to Vegas here in California. Cool, let's just go watch a Raider game against the Packers, against the Dolphins, against the Patriots, against the Cowboys, against whoever, and you just kind of make it a weekend, because a lot of people go there on the weekends anyways, and let's go watch a game. So you might not have like a whole close-knit fan base. But to be fair, like I said, the Raiders were in Oakland at one time, and they were in L.A., and L.A.'s not far away from Vegas, and you'd have people just kind of travel like that. So I think they would actually have a fan base. It just wouldn't be as close-knit and like as it would be in L.A. or Oakland, I think. But I still think it would be pretty good in Vegas, even though I guess those are pretty much the only 2, roadblocks as far as just like people wanting to move to Vegas is the fact that it's gambling heaven and the fan base wouldn't be as, I guess, localized. It'd be more kind of spread out.
Exactly. That's why I think it would work. Like hockey, I'm not so sure about.
Right.
You're looking at 40, 41 nights a year where you have home games. Are locals really going to show up for that? Maybe not so much. With the NFL, it's a lot different and more popular sport. You have people traveling all over to see their favorite NFL team. Not so much maybe on a Wednesday night in a hockey stadium.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, you only have to do it for one day for the NFL. You just worry about it Sunday night, maybe Thursday night, once a year. But, that's all you have to worry about for them. And, yeah, that's a lot easier to sell. It's just, 8 times the whole year.
Right. So that's why I think the NFL would work absolutely perfect. The hockey, the NHL, I'm not so sure about. We'll find out next year, obviously, when the Vegas Golden Knights take center ice. But, we'll have to wait and see. Sticking with the NFL, someone else who literally is not afraid to speak his mind has done one more thing to speak his mind. Richard Sherman, obviously, of the Seattle Seahawks, set to play the LA Rams on Thursday night. Obviously, we have our Thursday night matchups as we do all the time. Sherman, in a press conference yesterday, just bashed the NFL in particular for these Thursday nights. He said, quote, "It's a poop fest. It's terrible. We got home like 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that on Monday, and then you've got to play again. Congratulations, NFL. You did it again. But they've been doing this all season, so I guess we're the last ones to get the middle finger." Sherman obviously not happy. He also went on to say that his body would be roughly 50 to 60% recovered by the time the Seahawks play on Thursday. We talked about this all year long. I'm not a fan of the Thursday night games. I guess there's one thing to look forward to. He gets to play the Rams.
Right. I'm not a big of a fan of it either. I don't really understand why the NFL doesn't adopt some new rule where it's basically just like the team that plays on Thursday night, you basically have the bye week the week before. That way you get a 10-day break. I don't know if maybe there's, doesn't work out perfectly because I guess there are some problems when it becomes like week 2 or something like that maybe. But, yeah, like I like watching football on Thursday, but I understand it's also kind of gluttonous. It's kind of just the NFL with greed. It's basically what, Sherman's saying. I like how he basically is just like, we're the last one to get the middle finger because, every team has basically had it at this point, some Thursday night game. And he's just like, well, I guess it's our turn now.
Exactly. Every team does play on Thursdays. Obviously, the NFL wants to dominate Thursday night. They already dominate all day Sunday.
Right.
Monday night, you add one more day in there. You're only a couple of days away from football any given day of the week. So I get that. I think if the NFL is going to stick with this, I think what they should do is extend the season one more week, give each team 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
Like you said, you give them normal bye week. Mm-hmm. You give them a bye week before a Thursday night game.
Yeah, however you figure it out now, however you get your bye week.
Like you said, you have the 10-day rest, and then coming out of the Thursday night game, you play 10 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So it can work, but right now it's just not. Because like you mentioned, 3 days rest. Some teams are traveling back.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're going to do it, I realize you do it as a divisional game already. So it's technically, with the exception of like maybe the Chiefs and Raiders last week, every game is pretty close, pretty local.
Right.
So I get that. But still, you have travel time in there. It's always a lot harder on the road team because they're the one traveling. They're losing some preparation days and rest days. So I get that. I would say just give each team another bye week, and I don't think we'd have as much of an issue. I'd say with the exception of last week, and it was kind of an ugly game too, but it was a good game. Every single Thursday night game has been a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't see this one going any differently. I don't see how the Rams have – the Rams have played Seattle tough for the last few years. But I don't see how the Rams have any chance to battle Seattle in this game and win. I just literally don't.
Right. Yeah, they said like rivalry week, or rivalry game, those things get kind of weird when it happens like that because we've seen the Rams tie or beat the Seahawks recently. But yeah, like you're talking about, like add the 1 week. Perfect. Yeah, basically more commercials for the NFL, which gives them more money, which is nice for them. You basically tell the players like, all right, cool, look, fine, here's 10 days. Sorry, we made you do this over 3 days. Here's 10 days. So it's basically a normal week for them, just a couple more days for you to rest and prepare. You have to do what? So the NFL doesn't do the last week of the season, right? Week 17, they don't do Thursday night games anyways. The last week of the season's just Sunday. It's not even Saturday or Monday. It's just all Sunday. So if you added one more, that's 17 weeks, so 17 Thursday night games, plus the 2 that you do for Thanksgiving, because you do 2 extra games there, so you have an all-day thing. And recently they've done the thing where you have the 1 extra game opening Monday night. So maybe do, 19? But yeah, because that's for Monday, not Thursday. So yeah, you do like 19 total games. So I feel like you can do that. It's 16 of them is for rivalry games, add a couple other ones that are random Cowboy, random Detroit games. Like, yeah, you can do this easy enough. And I think the only snag in that scenario is basically how are you going to do it for like week 2? Because week 2 you still actually are having them go for 3 days because you're not going to give them a bye week for the opening week of the season. But at that point, I don't know, incentivize them to where it's just like if you're playing in that game, here's like a, I don't know, $25,000 boost. I don't know. But basically it's like outside of week 2, it all pretty much works out for them, and it's a pretty easy enough schedule, and you're getting them more money. And I think even if you do it an extra week or 2 like that, then you can kind of have the whole thing where like, oh, people always want to have Super Bowl Sunday as like a holiday, right? Isn't President's Day like the first or second week of like February? So
yeah, February's all over the place. You have Lincoln, you have Washington,
right.
President's Day. Now they kind of lump them together.
Right.
So instead of taking like 2 or 3 days off, it's just 1 now.
Yeah. So if you do that, let's say you extend it a week or 2. Okay, so now you have the Sunday before Lincoln or whatever President's Day, and now you have school off that day. Now actually kind of it is a holiday because the next day you don't have to go to work. Bam. Boom.
I always thought the whole talk about the Super Bowl being a holiday or the day after being so stupid. I always thought that was so dumb. It's just an excuse for you to get drunk more than you already wanted to.
Yeah, but so is every other holiday.
Exactly, but it actually represents something. You know
sure.
what I mean? Like, the Super Bowl, not so much. You know what I mean? I always thought that was kind of stupid. But anyways, we'll take our first break at the show. After the break, we will be talking some basketball. Certain players not going to be making the trip to Memphis tonight for the Cavaliers. What we think about that and just the idea of wrestling players in general. Right after the break at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers improved to 18-5 with a victory over the Memphis Grizzlies, 103-86. LeBron James leads the way for the Cavs with 23 points as well as 6 rebounds. Kevin Love, pretty good game as well, 29 and 13 boards. They do play the Grizzlies tonight in Memphis, part of that road home back-to-back the NBA likes to do. But Cavaliers coach Tyronn Lue last night not holding back, making sure the media knew that his players, his stars, would not be playing in tonight's game. He said right from the get-go, LeBron, Kevin, and Kyrie all will not even be making the trip to Memphis. Kyrie Irving did rest last night for quote-unquote tired legs.
Right.
But all three guys not even making the trip tonight. LeBron and Kevin Love did play last night in the victory, but not even going to play tonight. I get this is where the conversation's going now.
Right.
You have the Grizzlies, the Cavaliers, one trip to Memphis, and the top 3 players from the world champion Cavs are not going to be even making the trip to play in the game. We see this over the last few years. Stars getting rested 4 games in 5 nights, back-to-backs occasionally, just sometimes just random days, taking days off. Do you have an issue with it?
I mean, not really. Like, I totally get it on one aspect because I get the fact that if you are in Memphis and you want to see LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, it's a cool thing to do, right? You get to see the best player in the world, and you get to see, you know, what was, I guess, the best team last year because they won the title. But, like, in that sense, I get you being upset because you paid money to go see the game. Also, why does Ty Lue care about that? Like, why does that affect him at all? Like, it's a thing of just like, yeah, that's great, I'm sorry. Also, I want to preserve my guys, right? I mean, to be fair, LeBron's been in the league since 2003, and while he's the most indestructible dude I've ever seen in my life, also, if he wants to rest every now and then, fine, you give him a rest. Kyrie, not so much. Kevin Love, not so much. But, the fact that he wants to rest his guys, like, I get it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not something that it bothers me that much. Like, I understand why Ty Lue does it, and also, this isn't new. We've seen Popovich do this for a long time now. Now, he did it with Duncan because he's old. He's doing it, and Duncan was like 37, 38, 39 years old. But at the same time, we've seen a precedent about this, and, I mean, Popovich got a title in this precedent, so I, on one hand, understand the frustration, but also it's a strategy at this point. The same thing as tanking, the same thing as, putting in small ball lineup. It's all kind of a strategy in order to get through the regular season because they don't care about the regular season, right? The Cavaliers, they don't care about the regular season. All they care about, they've been to 2 straight NBA finals. LeBron has been to 6 straight NBA finals. They didn't care about a game in Memphis. No offense to Memphis. He wouldn't care about a game in Sacramento. He wouldn't care about a game in Toronto, right? He just cares about basically getting through the regular season, getting to the playoffs, make it to the finals again, where he's probably going to face the Warriors again, and basically win another title for Cleveland.
I don't have an issue with it either. Everyone seems to have issue with it in basketball.
Right.
And I like you said, I get it. Like, for instance, this is the Grizzlies website right here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the Grizz Nation, like, bundle packs, like 12-game packs,
right.
Okay? They have, like, it's called the Grind Father pack or the Captain Clutch pack. And this is the description, okay?
Sure.
The season is here and the Grizzlies are back. Be there for every moment of Memphis Hoops history with the all-new 12-game pack featuring 2 plans. the Captain Clutch and Grindfather packs. Guarantee your seats to the year's best matchups and giveaways. This is what it says. Including LeBron James and the world champion Cavaliers, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and the Warriors, and more, starting at just $15 a game. So literally on the website it says featuring LeBron James and the world champion Cavaliers. And I realize they put this out before the season, and you could have things like injuries.
Sure.
So LeBron James might not be playing because he has a bum knee or a bad ankle or something. So I get that. But you're putting on here like, oh, wow, like, I'm going to take my son to this little grind pack. That way he gets a chance to see LeBron is his favorite guy. Oh, wait, LeBron's not playing. Like,
right.
Sorry, Johnny. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So I get that.
Tell Johnny life's hard.
So I get that. But I'm with you, man. I don't have an issue with this at all. The only issue I have is besides that, you're having fans miss out on seeing some of their favorite guys.
Sure.
The only other issue I have is even 10 years ago, you didn't see this. It's when Popovich started it with the old San Antonio Spurs, the old Ginobili, old Duncan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just resting players, and I get it. I would do the same exact thing. But that's when it first started. Even 10 years ago, you never saw Kobe Bryant take a game off.
Right.
15, 20 years ago, you never saw Michael Jordan take a game off. You never saw Bird. You never saw Magic taking games off. They were healthy. They played. This whole tired legs thing is just an excuse to rest. These guys are much more physically gifted now than they have ever been. Look at LeBron James' body. You can't tell me that guy needs a rest.
No, I can't tell you that he needs a rest, but I can also say, like, this is something – you say this isn't something that happened in Jordan's day or whatever else like that, and that's fine. Also, players are playing longer now than they were back in Jordan's day. Like, yeah, fine, Jordan was an Iron Man and John Stockton was an Iron Man and all stuff like that. Also, Larry Bird had back problems. You know, also Isaiah Thomas had, I think it was foot problems or something like that. Like, players get hurt, right? And we have better science now. Like, we have better technology about how to figure out how to extend the careers of players. And, yeah, well, that's not exactly why they're doing it right now. They're just doing it because they don't care. The reason why it's working is because Popovich is the one that did it, right? Popovich, being who he is able to affect something like that to happen. It's the whole thing with the Sam Hinkie with Philadelphia, right? He had a strategy about tanking and basically, you know, being a really bad team and stinking for a good 5 years and getting what he thought would be the best players for a 5-year run. That didn't work, right? Like, all the players he got were either okay or not good enough to basically revitalize the franchise. You know, maybe Simmons will be that this year, but, you know, he wasn't there when they drafted him. And Embiid was hurt for a couple of years before he played. So what his idea was didn't work. You know, if it did, a lot more teams would implement when he did, but instead he's a laughingstock. Popovich, championship before that, championship during that, so now people are going to copy him. That's how it works. Once something's successful, people copy it.
And I would do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like I said, for me, the object is championship. And for me, getting guys rest, getting their fitness levels back up is the most important thing. But here's the other issue I have, and it's people are so, I'm not going to say biased, but so upset that people in the NBA are doing this. I'm going to compare it to a few things.
Sure.
This is a little different because it's mainly at the end of the season with the NFL and when you have playoff positions wrapped up.
Right.
You could see Tom Brady get rested by New England in Week 17 if they are guaranteed the number 1 seed like they are in position to right now. Are people going to have an issue with that? No. So how can you have an issue with it in the NBA? In baseball, oftentimes the end of the series matinee game, you might have, say, Buster Posey rested from behind the plate, taking the day off, and he might come in as a pinch hitter, but maybe not. Do you have people with an issue with that? No. In soccer, you have these different club and country competitions that you're maybe facing lesser opponents in the first few rounds. So you have players resting for that day. Do they have an issue with that? No. So how do you have such a big issue with basketball? It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that it's fair or not, but it's like you have an issue with it in basketball, but this happens in every other sport, and you never hear it talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one kind of, you know, thing with football is, you know, the fact of any time you can get injured with the NFL, right? If you play like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, because I was always thinking if they went like 14-0, Manning did that a couple of times where he was like 13-1, 14-0 in the last 2 games he basically didn't care about. And with baseball, there's 162 games. It's like if you miss a couple of games, that's fine. And this is coming from a guy who wanted to see Barry Bonds back in 2000 and I want to call it like 3 or 4, and I got to go to AT&T or Pac-Bell, whatever it was called back then, to see Barry Bonds. Guess who had the day off that time?
Barry Bonds.
Right. But, as a kid, wasn't happy about it. But as adults, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I get it. You're going to have a day off to rest every now and then. And with the NBA, I mean, there is 82 of them. And, yes, that stinks that, the Memphis game is the one where you choose. Maybe it would have been a little bit easier if you were done it against maybe the Bucks or something like that, because the Bucks, you'll play a couple of games, in Milwaukee and a couple of games in Cleveland. To where Eastern Conference, you only get 1 and 1 at home, 1 on the road. But if it's 2 Eastern Conference teams or 2 Western Conference teams, you play basically twice at home and twice on the road. That, I guess, would make it a little bit easier to swallow, because then at least you can say, yeah, you're missing this game, but there's also this game here. But at the end of the day, like, it's just, this is their strategy, right? This is how they want to basically stay healthy for the whole year, because even though, like I said, LeBron's kind of an Iron Man freak, since 2003 he's been in the league, and Kyrie Irving has basically had injury problems almost every single year he's been in the league, all the way going back to him being in 1 year, and I think it's like 11 or 17 games at Duke, he's had injury problems, and so is Kevin Love. So they basically want to make sure that they stay okay through the whole regular season. LeBron doesn't, have his Kobe moment where all of a sudden his body just betrays him, and they get to the playoffs, healthy and ready to basically be in the finals again.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it either. But, I mean, obviously people are going to have issues with it. It's not going to change. And these coaches, general managers, players are not going to opt to not take days off anymore.
Right.
I don't know if there's something they can do where they somehow have some sort of meet and greet with fans, sign autographs or something. But also I don't think that's necessarily fair on the players in a certain aspect as well. So I think people just kind of have to, I hate to say it this way, but kind of have to just get over it.
Well, yeah, you said something actually that I didn't even think about. It's just like, yeah, they want a day off from work. You want a day off of work. I want a day off of work. Everyone wants a day off of work. If you tell the person, would you like to come in today? Or no, by the way, you're still going to get paid. Yeah, I'm going to stay home. Like, that's how people are. Like, that's, some people are very, I want to work every day. That's fine. You be you. But also, most people, if you gave them the opportunity to basically get paid the same amount of money and not work, that's what they're going to take.
Exactly. And that's why I don't have an issue with it. Everybody's kind of in the same mindset. We think about wanting to go out and see them, but like you said, it's their job. Sometimes you're not always up to bar and up to really performance level, and sometimes you're like, I just kind of would like to take it easy today. That's what happens in life. That's what we do. That's what NBA players do, baseball players, etc. It's all the same. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with it, but others are. But anyways, we'll take our last break at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. After the break, a certain player has yet again decided to stay with the Dodgers, kind of being a theme this year in the offseason in baseball. We'll talk about who that is, what it means for the team, right after the break.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Justin Turner and the Los Angeles Dodgers officially agreed to a four-year deal yesterday worth $64 million. So Turner becomes the next player, along with Kenley Jansen and Rich Hill, a couple of pitchers, to re-sign with the Dodgers this year. Dodgers kind of doing it a little differently, although they are spending a lot of money, keeping their in-house product as opposed to signing the big top-name free agents. Turner, a really good year last year. He hit 34 doubles, 27 home runs, 90 RBIs in 151 games. Those are all career highs for the young third baseman. Definitely a key cornerstone of that franchise, along with Corey Seager, who was the Rookie of the Year. Also finished third in the National League MVP voting. Quite an impressive rookie year for Seager. You keep Turner. Kenley Jansen decides to turn down less money from other teams to stay with the Dodgers. So it definitely goes to show what he thinks of the team and the organization. Dodgers doing it a little differently, man. Keeping their in-house product. Good move or bad?
No, it's a good move because you keep the people that are known with everybody else. You kind of keep the camaraderie the same, right? Because it's no secret the Dodgers can spend whatever they want to, and they've been doing that for a while, whether it was Adrian Gonzalez or Hanley Ramirez or whoever else. They've been doing something where it's just basically like, oh, okay, cool, we got this money, let's throw it out to people, and whatever, we'll see if it works or not. But you keep guys, like you said, Rich Hill, Kenley Jansen, Justin Turner, you keep those guys who were important to you, someone that, had a good cohesion with the whole team. Because with someone like Jansen, right, like the Florida Marlins offered him more money and basically wanted him to be their number one, closer. And that's great and that's fine. Also, it's a lot of money to give to a closer that you don't know if will work well in a different market, right? It's one of those things of just because you were good one place doesn't mean you're going to be good somewhere else. There's a comfort factor to this whole thing. There's a ballpark factor to the whole thing, right? There's things that basically help you being as good as what you are. So now you keep all these guys. And with someone like Rich Hill, I mean, the dude's 36 years old. He's not young. He just had a good year. We talked about before we went on air. All you got to do is have a couple of good, a half of the season, good year, something like that. And if you're in a big market, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, something like that, you will get money, which he did. And good for him. He got $48 million. Congratulations for you. Justin Turner, same thing, had a good, year and everything else. Now he got his money. Uhara, same thing over with the Red Sox. He had a good year a few years back, and now he's going to go get money from the Chicago Cubs. I do like the people actually staying in the same market, kind of building everything up. So now they're going to go for it again with kind of the same local talent they've had.
I think it's a good move as well. You can kind of keep the chemistry going, same players, not having to bring in new players to the clubhouse, get them accustomed to how you run things, change of speed, pitching styles, catching styles. So I do like that move in an aspect. So I agree with you on that one. Plus, you give a lot of these young guys, Dodgers are an extremely young team, so you can give them another year in the system. They already won the National League West last year. There's no reason they can't do it again this year, although the Giants should be a lot better with Mark Melancon.
Right.
An established, legitimate closer. Last year they blew 32 saves. Melancon's blown 10 in the last 3 years. So
just any closer they needed, yeah.
So they should be much improved as well, but they're still going to be battling for that National League West crown, battling against the Cubs. So, they pushed the Cubs to 6 games last year in the divisional series, did the Dodgers. So I do like the move in that aspect, and I'm happy for Turner, guy's money. He's a really good hitter, good third baseman. You mentioned Koji Uehara. He has signed that one-year deal with the Cubs. It's about $6 million a year. He is 42 years old, so he is getting up there in age, but just a reliever, maybe be seventh-inning guy, setup guy, situational guy. He turned down more money from other clubs to sign with the Cubs. So obviously, one of those classic instances of trying to chase another World Series. He did win the 2013 World Series with the Red Sox. He was their closer at that time. Yeah. So you mentioned Uehara. The Cubs just kind of getting richer. I mean, they're that fortunate team, kind of like, I guess you can say, the Warriors right now, maybe the Patriots, just
right.
Kind of those teams those players that are at the edge of their career, wanting that last World Series run, going to the team with the best shot to do that.
Yeah, you want to basically join the team that everybody that just won a championship, right? It's one of those things, now, it's Chicago. They got all the young talent, whether it be Rizzo or Bryant or Addison Russell or whoever else. You have all these guys on the team that are young that are going to be a good team for the next, 5 to 10 years. And you get people, Uehara, who I know Theo Epstein didn't sign him in Boston. He had already left for Chicago at that time. But I got to think that he kind of knows some of the guys that are in the front office and probably saw some of his stats, talked to his guys, and they're like, yeah, no, he's a good dude. He's a good clubhouse dude, everything else like that. Because you don't need him to be the number one, setup guy or anything else like that. You just need him to come in and basically be a situational pitcher. And, he got a decent amount of money to be that. But it's someone that he feels comfortable with. And now you get a chance to get another ring, one with the Red Sox and potentially now one with the Cubs.
Uehara last season, a 3.45 ERA in 50 appearances. He also had a 12.1 strikeouts to per 9 innings ratio, which was the highest since 2013 when he was the World Series champion with Boston. So I guess it's a good move. We saw that with John Jay maybe a couple of weeks ago too, signing a one-year deal for $8 million, just kind of solidifying and giving them more depth. Mm-hmm. Classic Theo Epstein, man. He's literally on top of the game right now, and he just is literally a step ahead of every other general manager, president, whatever, in baseball right now. The guy's just literally a GOAT.
I would be afraid to like go against him or trade for him. Like he calls you on the phone. It's just like, yeah, I would like to get your third base. No, hang up. Nope, that's it. I'm done. I don't want the players. You basically saved 2 franchises from, literally almost centuries of irrelevance and not winning a championship. Like, I don't want to give up my players to you because it's going to end badly for me.
It's like, what else does this guy have to accomplish?
I mean,
I think he's done it all, and then he did it all again.
I mean, Cleveland. I think that's about it. If you save Cleveland, that's not as good as Chicago.
Unless he goes to like the Browns or something. I mean, like he might.
Well, they just had the Browns.
He might be able to.
They just had the baseball guy go to the Browns to basically use their analytics to do that. And if that doesn't work, maybe they bring it to the website. And it's just like, please save us, do whatever. But I mean, yeah, he saved the Red Sox. Brought them out of their curse. Went to Chicago, longer curse, broke them out of that. I think the longest curse now is the Indians. I think they have the longest one of anybody now. Outside of that, there's nothing else you can really do in baseball. And if he wants to try and break basketball curses or football curses, let's go.
I mean, the guy is, like I said, he's literally a GOAT, one of the greatest of all time. And I have to see how the Cubs do this year. Definitely odds-on favorites already, and they should be okay. They did this all without Kyle Schwarber for the majority of the season, who could literally have at least 30 home runs next year. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, that's going to end our show for today. For Alex, who is not here, my name is Ben.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are signing off here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow talking some Thursday Night Football, a little preview of that Seahawks and Rams game. Should not be a really good game, but, I mean, the Rams are that one team that always give the Seahawks fits. So we will have to see. We are unsure. The game will be in Seattle, though. Have to wait and see. We'll preview that as well as much more in the world of sports right here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'd like to thank you for listening. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.